Good morning and welcome to day 35 in our Bible studies. We are continuing to look at how those who wrote the Bible understood creation and our place in it. Today we're looking at somebody who really felt entitled to something that didn't belong to him and the dire consequences that followed. This is the story of King Ahab and his desire for Naboth's vineyard. And we are reading from the first book of Kings, chapter 21, verses 1 to 16. Near to Ahab's palace at Jezreel was a vineyard owned by a man called Naboth. One day Ahab spoke to Naboth, saying, I want to have your vineyard because it is near my palace, and I want to use the land as a vegetable garden. I'll give you a better vineyard for it, or if you prefer, I'll give you a fair price for it. No, said Naboth, I inherited it from my forebears. Yahweh forbids that I should let you have it. Depressed and angry because of what Naboth said, Ahab went home, lay down on his bed facing the wall, and he refused to eat. His wife Jezebel went in and asked, What's making you so depressed? Why don't you want to eat? Because of what Naboth said. I offered to buy his vineyard or give him another one in exchange, but he turned me down. Look, are you king or not? She replied. Get up, cheer up, eat. I'll get Naboth's vineyard for you. Jezebel wrote letters to officials and leading citizens in Jezreel, which she authorized with Ahab's name and seal. Each letter said, proclaim a public gathering for a fast day and seat Naboth at the front. Then get a couple of rogues there to accuse him to his face of cursing God and the king. Then get him taken outside the city and stone him to death. The officials and civic leaders did so. And the message was sent to Jezebel, Naboth has been executed. As soon as she heard, she told Ahab, Naboth is dead. The vineyard he refused to sell to you is yours. Go and take it. This story forms part of the history of the prophet Elijah and his struggle against paganism in 9th century BC Israel. In scripture, Ahab is written up as Yahweh's worst opponent, all, it was said, at the urging of his wife Jezebel, who was described as a militant pagan. You can read about her in 1 Kings 21, 25 and 26. She was given her comeuppance after Ahab's death in battle, 2 Kings 9, 30 to 37. Elijah had forced Ahab to apologize for his behavior in front of God, but when Ahab had joined with the king of Judah in battle, hoping to regain some territory from Syria, he was ill-advised by his attendant prophets, all but one of whom assured him of victory. In the story, the relationship between the king and the queen and their different characters are nicely drawn in a few words. Naboth was right to speak God's name in defense of his family property. That was the ancient tradition. Their portion of the promised land was held by the family in trust from God. It wasn't that he didn't want to give it to the king. Really, he saw it another way. He wasn't allowed to give it away. Ahab comes over as sulky and weak. Jezebel as pushy and determined. She took charge and arranged the false allegations against Naboth, which resulted in his unjust execution. Once again, the desirable blessing of the promised land, its heritage of wine and other good things, is turned into a temptation. In this case, it is just an expression of the entitlement Ahab and Jezebel felt as that he deserved as king. He didn't even want it for the wine, but just as a convenient part of his kitchen garden. The story has a double ending, with Ahab, in disguise, dying of blood loss on the field of battle, and wicked Jezebel some time later being thrown from a palace window and her body run over by a chariot. Her body lay there while those who killed her ate a meal, during which time her bloody corpse was consumed by wild dogs. God has no place for entitlement. If you do find yourself called to high office, it is as well to know that you are unworthy of it, and to know that you must do your best to fulfill that office's obligations. It is to be used to serve the nation, not to feed one's greed. Tomorrow we visit the book of Psalms and we listen to the earth as it belongs to Yahweh and everything in it. See you tomorrow.